Thank you for joining us, Jesus. Love reading your stuff in the newspaper.
Thank you very much.
Actually, I should say I read it on my phone, not in the actual newspaper, but you get the idea. So your column the last couple of days is quite interesting. You bring up the idea that we just might not know everything there was to know, and that Korea may be sort of not telling everything he knows.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing about all of it is in St. Louis, the Cardinals would tell you they didn't do anything and they got hammered, or we in St. Louis have portrayed it at least the Post-Dispatch as they got hammered. Record fine, and Derek Gould and I, we both talked about it, and I thought the penalty was pretty excessive. Everywhere else around the country, though, people think the Cardinals got away. They got off with a light penalty. So it all depends where you fall on the spectrum. But I do think that it's hard to fathom that he didn't tell anybody.
You asked in your column, you asked John Mozeliak, GM, that specific question.
Yeah, I did, and then I left the answers. You know, you could judge for yourself, and not that I recall. I think the final answer. So the answers led to more questions, and then I purposely finished it with, at least we know what the punishment is. We're not going to know anything else, and time to move on. But really, there are no winners here. Everybody loses.
So your answers to those questions, Mozeliak said, no, he never told me. And then you asked him, did you ever find out the information through somebody else? And Mozeliak said, I don't know. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't, but I never knew it came from the information he obtained through his hacking.
Yeah, I don't remember the direct quote, but I think that, not that I remember, or something like that was the quote, but yeah, essentially that was it. Right. So, we've all watched how people, use semantics to. Honestly, with everything that's going on in the world, it was hard to pretty much get all up in arms over this. But most of the country did. Most of the baseball world, if you check Twitter, they really hammered the Cardinals. But having been here, having worked with these people, it's hard to slam them or to say, hey, they're lying, when you realize how badly it has also affected them.
Yeah. They seem to early on decide to be as forthcoming as possible with all of this, right? I mean, they had the owners and the general manager come out and answer questions to the best of their ability. They hired the top law firm, and it seems like every step of the way, they didn't fight it. They didn't fight the FBI investigation. They didn't fight baseball's investigation. They've taken their punishment. They've taken their lumps and moved on. So, in terms of public relations, at least outwardly, they've done everything they were supposed to do.
Exactly. Here in St. Louis, for the people who are here, for you, me, and all our local people here, they gave us every answer. They answered every question we could possibly ask. The people who are on the outside, who aren't here, who weren't here to ask those questions, they don't have those answers. But I defend our coverage in saying that there's nothing that we could prove. So we asked the questions, and honestly, once Correa decided not to speak to MLB, everybody in the Cardinals was safe because they had already done their investigation. They had already fired the guy who they caught. So he didn't cooperate with Major League Baseball, and as soon as and that's a double-edged sword, as I wrote in the column, because A, he's not a snitch, but B, he also didn't step up and say, I did this alone. or he didn't answer the question of who did you tell.
Right. Not only did he not talk to MLB, but he also took a plea deal, so there was no defense. There was no, right? He took his plea deal, so lots of things we'll never know. Not talking to MLB, as you say, we'll never know. So we have to take it at what we know and move on.
Right, and you know, the guy got 46 months in jail. He got the harshest penalty, and I honestly believe that MLB would have loved to have had his testimony in some sense, but also they were glad that he didn't speak.
Right.
Because remember, this is the same Major League Baseball that try to get when they really want to do an investigation, like the Mitchell report. They all but bribed people to testify against other people, and here they couldn't get anybody. They couldn't get a guy who was a convicted felon. And, you know, there's no double jeopardy there, so nothing he could have told Major League Baseball could have been used against him. He just chose not to, and you know, the Cardinals would have you believe that the guy, you know, he'd already gone through the FBI, he was tired, and why even do it? So there was nothing for him to gain. And hopefully somebody, whoever he, you know, if he did tell people in the Cardinals, hopefully that person sends him cigarettes in jail for the rest of his 46 months.
Jesus Ortiz with us, St. Louis Post-Dispatch sports columnist. Let's talk about the actual punishment. $2 million fine. The Cardinals lose more than that in a 20-minute rain delay in beer sales. So that's nothing. But how much of the draft picks are going to hurt down the line? And what are the experts saying about that?
Well, I tell you what, I covered the Astros for 15 years, but I remember the draft in 2006 or 7, I think it was 6, where they failed to sign their top picks. And fortunately for the Cardinals, they're better at picking, they're better at the draft, and this won't affect them like it did. But it will set them back because, as Mo mentioned yesterday, you know, this hurts. Because this is an organization that prides itself on the way it drafts. It builds its organization through the draft. So when you've already lost your first-round pick for Dexter Fowler, and remember, many people in St. Louis were saying, oh, don't sign him, we don't want to lose the draft pick. So you lost the draft pick, you lost your second-round pick, and you lost your comp pick. So when you finally choose, you're going to choose, you know, you're going to really have to hit with that third-round pick for this draft to, you know, the lower the round, the harder it is to hit. But the Cardinals organization has been really good at picking, you know, except, you know, Correa, obviously, as we found out, some of his picks were based on information he got from the Astros.
Yeah, he's a great pick when he's reading the Astros mail. Last question for you, Jesus Ortiz. We were earlier talking to somebody who was a Patriots fan, and they were like, "Hey, welcome to the club." Can Cardinal fans look down on and make fun of Patriot fans for Belichick's cheating scandals when they have their own skeletons now in the closet?
Well, and I hate saying this just because I'm going to go against my reputation, but I just don't think it's fair to judge the Cardinals the way you judge the Patriots. Because the Patriots, I mean, it was established that it was from the top. You know, this was, you know, Chris Correa, who suckered people into believing that he was a lot smarter than he was. He was passing information off that wasn't his. So, I wish I could prove that he told people, and if I could, then I'd say, okay, it's similar, but they have to do at least 3 more things, right? Until we could say, okay, you're the Patriots. Because I mean, how many times didn't they get caught, you know, taking film of guys?
Right.
The key, though, is now I want to see the Cardinals win without Jeff Luhnow. That's the key. They've not won a World Series since they stopped or even gone to a World Series since they stopped producing some of the draft picks he left behind. That's going to be the key. They have to rebound. You know, Jeff Luhnow, it was brilliant, you know, and now he's he's built that team through the farm system, and now he has 2 more picks and more of that, salary bonus to deal with, and
right. Well,
and they're gonna.
But the Luno experiment in Houston is still not in yet. I mean, he had the one good year, 2 years ago. Last year was a down year. So there's still question if he can build that team the way he, quote unquote, built the Cardinals.
Exactly. Well, also, I mean, consider last year, the Cardinals and the Astros essentially did the same thing last year. They both missed the playoffs. They made the playoffs in 2015. They were the closest of anybody, and I covered that team in 2005 of beating the Royals that postseason. They are stacked. Look at their lineup. I honestly believe that if you told Mo right now, pick one of these 2 rosters and you could have it, he would take the Astros roster right now. You're right, they haven't won. But which roster, which team, which payroll would you take right now? You have Carlos Correa at shortstop, Jose Altuve at second base, Gurriel at third, Springer in right field. I mean, just those names right now,
right.
Who would you take?
Yeah, interesting. Jesus Ortiz, St. Louis Post-Dispatch columnist, thanks for your insight and thanks for your work in the newspaper. We love it.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, guys.
You got it. 7:29, we'll do no.